Okay, so let's dive into this. If you've read Yuval Noah Harari's book, Homo Deus, you'll know he just jumps into these absolutely massive ideas about humanity's future.
Huge ideas, yeah, like chasing immortality, AI, becoming,
Yeah,
well, godlike even.
exactly. And what's really striking, I think, is how he gets these incredibly complex topics, well, not just understood, but talked about
Yeah.
everywhere. They become almost pop culture.
That's the really fascinating bit, isn't it? It's not only what Harari says that pulls people in, but it's really how he says it.
Right.
So our mission today really is to unpack that unique style, get into the craft behind the impact. How does he manage that jump from, heavy academic thinking to just popular conversation?
Yeah, how does he do that? So we're planning to look at a few key things, like how he builds this really compelling big picture story,
Mm-hmm.
the meta-narrative,
Mm-hmm.
and how he taps into some tools from postmodernism, but still, pushes back a bit, stays critical while building his own thing.
And critically, that idea of storytelling.
Oh, definitely. How he puts storytelling right at the heart of, well, being human. Figuring out these methods, it really helps you get a deeper handle on the big questions his book throws up.
Absolutely. And if you think about that bigger picture, Harari's core argument is that humans are fundamentally these storytelling beings.
Right.
We have this obsession with producing meaning, he calls it. And the way we do that,
Yeah.
creating stories,
Mhm.
narratives, that's how we make sense of everything, no matter how techy or complicated it gets.
Yeah, he doesn't just recount history. He frames it all as stories we've told ourselves.
Yeah.
Religious myths, scientific progress. It's all narrative.
It's a powerful way to think about it, elevating storytelling beyond just, fiction or history books. It becomes this fundamental human activity.
And he uses that foundation, doesn't he,
Mm-hmm.
to build the main argument in Homo Deus. He crafts this sweeping meta-narrative.
Exactly. This grand story of humanity moving from tackling old problems, famine, plague, war,
The classics.
the classics, yeah, and moving towards these new targets, immortality, happiness, even divinity. It's a framework for everything else in the book.
Which is interesting because he's doing this when, postmodernism has often been about questioning or even dismantling those big, grand meta-narratives, saying there's no single truth.
Right, and Harari definitely engages with that. He uses a postmodern kind of critical lens to pick apart traditional ideas, show how they were built.
Yeah.
And this is key, he doesn't just leave you with fragments. He actually tries to offer a new, maybe tentative, but still unified story about where we might be heading.
So he's not just saying all big stories are dead. He's using the postmodern toolkit to show how past stories worked. And then he kind of goes, okay, now here's maybe a new one.
Precisely. He keeps a critical distance from, say, pure relativism, but he uses those analytical tools really effectively. It makes you ask, well, how do we find meaning if the old stories are shaky?
And his style, that academic voice he has, that's got to be central to bridging the gap, right? Between the heavy ideas and just everyone else, the popular versus academic divide.
Oh, absolutely. He sounds incredibly rigorous, informed, like a serious academic.
But not dry, not inaccessible.
Not at all. And that's the magic blend, isn't it? That rigor comes from grounding things in history and science, referencing events. But he avoids jargon or explains it super clearly.
Yeah, the language is compelling, clear, relatable examples too. Sort of invites you into the complexity.
Exactly. It doesn't talk down. So that accessible academic voice, combined with the huge scope of his meta-narrative and that constant focus on our need for storytelling, it makes the book just resonate. And even themes around identity, they're woven in there too, implicitly, adding layers as he explores these massive existential questions.
He really does just lay out these challenging ideas, potential futures, and kind of ask you to think alongside him.
Yeah.
No easy answers prescribed.
Which is maybe his biggest contribution. It's not just a book, is it? It's a set of complex ideas, frameworks for you to really grapple with, an invitation to join the conversation about the ethical, the existential stuff.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, we've touched on how Harari really elevates storytelling, makes it central.
Yeah.
How he builds that powerful meta-narrative in Homo Deus while navigating those tricky postmodern critiques.
And how he bridges that popular versus academic gap with that unique, accessible academic voice, plus the subtle exploration of identity.
He helps us see our own need for coherent stories, even in this messy world.
Definitely. So maybe something to leave you thinking about. If Harari's right, if we really are storytelling beings always looking for meaning, what does that actually mean for you? How do you navigate a world where lots of the old big meta-narratives feel shaky?
Hmm.
And does understanding the techniques of a powerful storyteller like Harari actually help you make sense of it all?